Well, good afternoon to everybody. I have the pleasure to have the last presentation today. It's about the statistical cooperation that EFTA has with Eurostat, and also I will look at a bit the role of statistics in the EEA agreement and how we work with statistics in this context. Yes, so this is the outlook of what I will talk about. I will first introduce the office and then talk a bit about European statistics and how the European statistical system works with statistics. Then I will go into a bit more on our specific work in this regard, looking at statistical legislation, inclusion monitoring, the European Statistical Training Program, and also what we call statistical technical cooperation. And if I have time, I will also look into the near future about the role of statistics in a bigger framework, which is under preparation about how EU and the EEA will work with data in the future. So this is our office. It's we share the office with Eurostat. We are actually located in the same building in Luxembourg, and we work quite closely with Eurostat, and we have a lot of day-to-day contact with them, so it's very convenient for us to be located in the same building. About the office, it was established in 1991. So as you heard, we celebrated the 30 years anniversary last year. A lot has happened since 1991, but two important milestones in this regard is first, of course, the EEA agreement when established in 1994, and the three EEA EFTA countries became partners in the European statistical system as well. And of course, then in 2006, the bilateral agreement with Switzerland was established. And effectively, this made all the EFTA countries part of the European statistical system. And the initial and overarching objective of the office was and still is to promote the full inclusion of the EFTA states in this system. This is, to me, a very important slide because it kind of defines the whole European statistical system. And it speaks a bit also about why we need this system and why we need European statistics. The European statistical system is the partnership between the European Community Statistical Authority, that is, of course, Eurostat, and the National Statistical Institutes of the EEA member states, that is EU and EFTA. Why does this system exist, and why do we need European statistics? So this is described in the European law on statistics, and well, the European law on statistics says that this is a partnership that exists for the development, production, and dissemination of European statistics. So this is a key term here because European law defines, together with more detailed legislation about statistics, how statistics should be made and what are the quality criteria to call it European statistics. And this is what makes it comparable. So this is how you can compare the numbers from one EU member states to another, and also within the EEA. So this is, for me, one of the ultimate outputs of this statistical system. For us in the EFTA Statistical Office, we act as a kind of broker between, or a liaison office between the EEA EFTA countries and Eurostat. And part of our work is to facilitate communication with the office between the member states and Eurostat. And a lot of the communication also goes through us. So part of our role is to kind of help and assist the member states in this day-to-day operations in the European statistical system. Then a bit more about our tasks. One of our key tasks is to coordinate and support the EEA EFTA statistical offices in the process of incorporating new statistical legislation in the EEA agreement. I think currently there are around 300 legal acts in the EEA agreement about statistics, so it's quite well regulated how statistics are made and the different statistical outputs. We divide this work in two main stages. One is that we monitor the legislation on a day-to-day basis to see what is the new legal acts that are coming for statistics. But we are also following very closely with Eurostat, and our countries and the EFTA Statistical Office participate in the preparation of legislation. So in a way, we already know what is coming. The second stage of this is together with our colleagues in the EFTA Secretariat to prepare after the legal acts are assessed by us and by the EEA EFTA countries, a joint committee decision for incorporation into the EEA agreement. And part of this work is also to kind of assess the challenges for incorporation and see if there are needs for any adaptations. Yeah, and a bit more about statistics in the EEA agreement. Protocol 30 defines the details about how this works in practice and how the cooperation is organized. I should actually say also here that statistics in the EEA agreement is one of the horizontal and flanking policies in the EEA agreement and organized under Subcommittee 4. Protocol 30 says that the EFTA states participate fully without the right to vote in the EC committees and other bodies, which is related to programs and actions devoted to statistics. So as I said, we are actually involved early in the preparations. The EEA EFTA member states participate in most of the preparatory work in the ESS. And a second important point in Protocol 30 is that the EEA EFTA states are obliged to deliver data to Eurostat, which of course are EEA relevant. And on the other hand, Eurostat is obliged to include our data in publications and in public databases together with data from the EU member states. Yes, and then of course, we have Annex 21 with all the legal acts, which defines how each statistical area should provide statistics or produce statistics, and what are the specific statistics that should be made. So as you heard, there is this mutual obligation to report and include data from the EFTA states. So another key task for the EFTA Statistical Office is to follow a bit how our data is doing, because this is a system that is continuously evolving. So 5 years ago, the requirements for statistics was very different than it is today. So we follow the publications and check if the data is included for our countries. And if not, what is the reason behind this? So we also follow up this very closely with our partners in the statistical offices and also Eurostat. Another part here, which is interesting, is the European Statistical Training Program. It's a very broad program to provide statistical training in various areas. It can be about specific statistical areas, new statistical methods, specific software used for IT, and it's a wide range of training courses and workshops for statisticians in Europe. And our countries also provide courses for this program together with us, of course, in the EFTA Statistical Office. So I think since we started with this, we have held around 50 courses. And then we have also another part of our work is what we call statistical technical cooperation. And this includes providing help to partner countries outside the EU and EFTA for modernizing their statistics. This could be, or this includes horizontal aspects for the statistical institutes like IT. It could also be about statistical legislation or management topics, or the assistance can also be on very specific statistical areas. And in this work, we work closely with international partners, of course, Eurostat, but also the UNECE and the UN Statistics Division to kind of have a joint effort on many of these projects. One important part of this is, well, I have to go back. I see, yeah, sorry. One important part of this is also to what we call global assessments and peer reviews. And this is where we put together an expert team to kind of see how the partner countries are making statistics and where they could also maybe, well, one of the outputs is this, it helps us to identify areas for future statistical assistance. And I included also here a chart where you see, well, maybe it's a bit small, but it shows the regions where we collaborate with partner countries in this area. We have the Eastern Europe, Caucasus, and Central Asian countries, the European Neighborhood Policy countries, and the Western Balkan countries. And then finally, a very brief look into the close future. It's about a framework that concerns how EU and the EEA will work with data in the future. On the one hand, when there are discussions about modernizing statistics these days, they often talk about how can new data sources be accessed and utilized for producing official statistics. You often hear about big data, but access to privately held data. And the idea is that this could help making statistics production more efficient, that you could provide more indicators, and potentially more detailed statistical indicators. There are, of course, limitations to this, but this is part of the discussions now. At the same time, the European Strategy for Data was published in 2020, and this aims to create a single market for data by facilitating sharing, creation of different data flows, and all within the new data governance framework. So you probably heard about the European Data Act, maybe also the Data Governance Act. I mean, this is partly in preparation, but it's already mentioned in a lot of different contexts now. So together, these regulations, they create mechanisms for sharing data. This includes also public and private sector, and ultimately the aim would be to create an internal market for data. So this will impact how national administrations and also the European administrations work with data, but also the statistical offices, on the one hand as a supplier of data in the system, but maybe also as a user of data. So this has also an impact for the kind of framework in Europe and in the EEA, which will concern also statistics and the role of national statistical institutes, possibly. So this was just to give you a small look into one of the more strategic and future topic for statistics, to end the presentation with this, and I thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Marius. We actually have already some questions for you. Regarding inclusion monitoring, is it often the case that the EFTA states statistics are not included in EU statistics?
Actually, I would say opposite. Usually they are included. So when we follow this, the typical scenario would be that our country data are included, but a few cases where they are not, we have to follow up closely with either the Statistical Office or Eurostat.
Okay. Is there ever a need to collect data according to a different classification scheme for the assets?
No, not really. Actually, as the EEA relevant statistical legislation is incorporated into the EEA agreement, the more or less same framework applies to the EEA EFTA states as the EU member states. So, and I would say also this is part of the purpose of making statistics according to the same standards. It makes it comparable across countries.
One more question. Has there been any disagreement about how to count continuous categories like emissions or fiscal deficits in the EEA?
Oh, this is a very detailed question. I'm not sure I know all the details there, but I could investigate.
Statistics, all the details, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I could come back to that later. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, just send us questions, statistics, and we will get them for you. That's for sure. So, thank you, Marius.
Thank you.